This week's episode of the Good Dude, Good Dad podcast is brought to you by BioPro. Use the link down below plus code GDGD upon checkout, along with Hidden House Coffee. Go to hiddenhousecoffee.com and use code GDGD on your checkout to receive a discount. Now, enjoy the show. Hey guys, this is Jordan with Good Dude, Good Dad, and I just want to thank you for tuning in. Today is a special episode. For the next 2 weeks, we are going to be doing a highlight episode from the past 4 months. We haven't done one of these in a while. So I hope you enjoy all the clips that we put together, a whole bunch of nuggets condensed into one period of time so you can sit down and get the highlights from all these episodes. Please go like, share, subscribe, send this to someone who you think will help. And if you guys have any suggestions for guests or for topics that we can cover, DM us, email us, go to gooddad.com. You can email us there. You can join our email link. You can grab some sweet merch. We have a new channel on Instagram that you can go and interact with us. So go to our Good Dude, Good Dad Instagram. You can do the channel button. I'm going to ask some questions. We're going to have some conversations on there, but we want to foster a community that grows together as fathers, as men, as dads, and becomes a resource for others. So we hope you enjoy this episode. Thank you for listening. It is all because of you that we get to do this amazing project. So be a good dude, be a good dad. Enjoy the show.
So started working with God Behind Bars, planning churches and prisons, and bringing the gospel to some of the darkest places, to the ends of the earth, really. And I just fell in love with it. Then from there, met my wife, got married, and we were a startup organization. And I just decided, you know what, I probably need to make more. My wife was in the clubs. She was, if you know the clubs in Vegas, if you're from Vegas, it's bottle service, it's stuff like that. So my wife was actually pregnant as she's in the clubs. And I'm like, shoot, I got to get her out of this. So I decided to leave ministry, pursue personal training. So I started working my way up the corporate ladder at Lifetime. And that was, awesome, whatever is what it is. But I was working long days. And I was pursuing money. On the side of that, I was doing network marketing too. So I was doing 6 to 3 personal training, 3 to really like midnight network marketing. My daughter had just been born. My son was about to be born. My wife's still doing cocktail service at like a day club, whatever it might be. And I'm like just burning the candle at both ends. And I'll never forget it. My wife looks at me, she goes, hey, I just missed the man that was after God. And I'm like, shoot, cause I was it hardens you, right? Like you're going through trying to make it, trying to provide a life for your family. It hardens you and it can really burn out your marriage. And that's where I was getting. Wasn't really seeing my kids too much because I was just pursuing money the entire time, trying to build a life for them. But at the same time, it's like, dude, you're missing the point. Mm-hmm. But anyways, and so I started a devotional called Dangerous Prayers by Michael Todd. It's Transformation Church devotional. And the first devotional is to pray for something to change. And I prayed for God to use me. Very dangerous prayer. And 2 days later, got COVID, took zinc on an empty stomach, had herniations just from sports and lifting and stuff like that, completely blew out my back, like blew it out to the point where I couldn't get up for 11 days straight on like a sit-up position, just for 11 days, taking double Oxycontin 10s.
Sheesh. Could
not move. My parents had to come and feed me. We just had our son, so now we're 2 kids. We're 3-month-old at this point. It's like September 2021. 3 months old and a just past 1-year-old, 1.5-year-old. So they're like Irish twins, 17 months apart. But couldn't move, like legit could not move. So from there, I'm crying out to God, like, dude, like, what is going on? Why is this happening to me? And that was the difference. I kept asking why. I changed the question to, what do you want me to do? And God's just like, learn the word, teach the word. And I heard it clear as day. I'm like, okay, cool. And I just immediately had hope. So it was like, okay, I got to go back into ministry. So Jake's first person I call, go back into ministry. That was October 2021, had back surgery, completely healed it. Thank you, Jesus, man. That was terrible. But doctor said it was he's done 10,000 back surgeries. He said it was one of the biggest ones he's ever seen. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Dang.
Terrible. Worst pain I've ever been in. 10 out of 10. Thought about putting a gun in my head. To be honest, it was gnarly. And so from there, obviously, I've been working with God Behind Bars now. I have a real big passion for fitness, obviously.
Yeah.
And so I started a company called True North Fitness that inspires ministry leaders to get fit. We have a lot of ministry leaders that aren't. And so, I help pastors and church staff really just get their health in order so that they can do ministry better. In Genesis, it says that Adam lived this many years and then he fathered. Next person lived this many years and then he fathered, and he fathered, and he fathered, and he fathered. Why does it mention that? It mentions that because it's a full-blown identity in who these men were to their successor, their child, in the lineage. But they had that opportunity, and the Bible mentions that they were a father at that moment more than anything else.
Dang. I haven't thought of it like that, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And so when you look at it that way, it's like, that's the sacrifice.
Yeah.
That's the sacrifice. And that's the badge of honor, man. You know how cool it is to be a dad? Like, I had the best dad growing up, and I'm so grateful for that. And he was just available. He was wealthy. He was a real estate investor. And so all my teens growing up, he spent so much time with me. And I didn't realize it until I was on a stag trip. One of these really wise pastors from New York, King's New York Church, he's noticing how I'm like throwing these cornhole bags and how I played golf and all this stuff. He goes, you had a really available dad, didn't you? And I said, yeah. He goes, I knew it. Because you're just naturally good at sports, all
so
sports, because you had a dad that was showing you how to do it. And all these like lights start clicking off in my head and like reflecting on like, oh my gosh, like he is so right. Like I'm so good at these things just because I had someone pour into me and pass the baton.
Yeah.
And that's fatherhood.
For me, it wasn't really a barrier to break because they're human, you know? So like these individuals, like that's somebody, you know, if we're talking about a man that's homeless, that's somebody's son, that's somebody's cousin, that's somebody's dad, you know, that's out there. So I feel like when I started providing haircuts and I started hearing their stories, that probably is what broke. That probably is what broke it, because I started to notice that people weren't homeless because they wanted to be homeless. Because for the most part, I feel like that's what people think. I feel like people think that, you know, well, if you don't want to be homeless, then go get a job and get off the streets. It's not that easy. You know,
Yeah.
a majority of homeless people here in Philadelphia, again, our the homeless population here is individuals that's addicted to heroin here in Philadelphia and in Kensington section of Philadelphia. But the people that's addicted to these drugs and been addicted to these drugs for years, they're not doing it to get high anymore. They're doing it to avoid getting sick. Because these individuals, they'll get high in the morning time, and now they good. They ripping and running throughout the entire day because they don't feel sick, you know? But when they don't have it, they feel sick. That's when you see them balled up, crying their eyes out, you know? And that's the thing that hurts my soul when I see somebody that's balled up that rather die because they're withdrawing, because that can kill you. You know, if they withdraw in cold turkey, that can kill them. It's just, it would be that, honestly. It would be the simple fact that I'm able to sit down and hear their stories and know that a few years ago they were good, you know, but what ended up, you know, them ended up homeless and on drugs was, you know, a close family member of them dying, their mom or their dad dying. But then you got certain situations where as though, you know, they've been getting high since the age of 8, 9 years old with their mom or with their dad at that young. And they've been shooting dope since the age of 8 and 9 years old, you know? So there's a lot of stories like that too. And then you got stories like individuals that get addicted to Percocets because they got into a car accident, they got into a bike accident, they broke a bone or whatever. They get addicted to these Percocets that's extremely addictive, and they start off as 602s, they go to Perc 10s, they go to Perc 15s, they go to Perc 30s, which Perc 30s is the highest dosage of a Percocet that you could possibly get. And once they get to the Perc 30, that's such of a financially, that's such of a it's super hard to keep up with a perk habit when you're up to a perk 30. That the best thing to do at mentally for them, the best thing to do at that moment is for them to just buy a $5 bag of dope. Cause that's how much the bags of dope is out. The bags of dopes out here is only $5. So instead of them paying $45 for a Percocet, because Percocets now, they're not even Percocets. They're pressed pills, pressed fentanyl pills. They're not Percocets now. They're pressed fentanyl pills now. So it's just so much, honestly. You know, it's just so much. Everything happened for me. Well, my perspective of life has changed for me when I turned 24 years old. When I turned 24 years old, I just came out of jail. I enrolled into barber school, and my barber instructor, he would take the whole class to shelters. That's how I learned how to cut hair. And me being able to provide a free haircut to someone meant more to me than to actually receive money for it. Mind you, prior to that, I never picked up a clipper a day in my life. So a lot of the students that were in barber school, they didn't have the experience. So my barber instructor, his method was, we're going to go into these shelters. We're going to provide these free haircuts. You guys are able to give back, but you guys are also able to get the hands-on training that you guys need while we're in these shelters. So me going into these shelters, providing these free haircuts, it was the one day that was super exciting for me when I went to barber school. I was looking forward to that day every single month. And after that, I graduated barber school. My barber school ended up going bankrupt, but then I was able to graduate barber school on time. So I put in for a forgiveness loan. They forgave the whole loan. So the loan that I originally took out for the $20,000, I didn't have to pay them back because they forgave the whole loan. So I basically went to school for free, and I was able to graduate on time as well. So it was just it was a great thing for me, you know. And at that moment, I'm just like, you know what? I love giving haircuts to individuals that's currently experiencing homelessness. So then I I partnered up with a nonprofit organization in Sacramento, California. And when that was my first time ever on a plane, any of that. And when I went out there and, you know, I provided free haircuts out there, I just noticed that homelessness didn't reside just in Philadelphia. It was everywhere else. So from that day forward, I just made it my mission for me to travel the country and provide free haircuts.
I mean, I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I mean, I went to school for this stuff, but I didn't know how to run a business. I didn't know how to market. I didn't know how to do anything. All I knew is I knew how to train.
Yeah.
So even the point where I go back to my $100 story, you know, we were doing so well. We were doing really, really well. I mean, I think we were making about, at the time, like $8,000 a month, you know. And I don't want to brag about money about that, but it was like we were doing really, really well. But all of our kids, we weren't so focused on marketing. We were so focused on the kids. And my ex-wife was like, you know, who's coming in the next month? I'm like, well, he's going, they're going there. Like all the kids are going back to school. So I remember it was August 1st. We had one more month with them. September 1st came in. And we're like, damn, hey, we got to pay rent, do all that stuff. I have $100 left in my pocket. I'm like, shit, we only got $100 left in the account. So we've literally had no money after 1 month because paying bills. You know, so we had to move back home with my mom. We had to do a bunch of stuff there. And I've said in previous podcasts too, it's just like when you're so used to being independent, you have your own family, you got to go back into the household and live by their rules or stuff like that. It makes you roll your eyes a lot, just going like, damn, what did I do?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, before we leave that topic, I think that there's actually some very good and valuable resources in that. It's like when you had that $100 and you had to go back, like how old was your son at that point?
So let's say maybe he's like 9.
9. So for you as like a man, as a provider, and you have a 9-year-old son that's obviously probably admiring everything you do and looking up to you, what were some things that you were able to do for yourself and for your family to show like, hey, like this is okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think it's just more the word, like even with just being a young dad, just learn to hustle. Mm-hmm. That was it. That's the one word that I still live by this day, 22 years later, is hustle. Hustle. Everyone's like, when do you ever take a break? I'm like, when I die, really, because if I lose that mentality or at least lose that motivation to provide, it's like an accomplished game, and I don't like losing.
Yeah.
I've been and I actually just said this the other day. It's like been very successful as a player. In high school, we lost very, very few games, not very much. Junior college, we were only, I think 2 years I was there, I've only lost maybe a total of 3 games.
Dang.
And then when I went to my university, we only lost 4 games in 2 years. So I was a very successful player. I was an All-American too as well, and so it was a point where I didn't know how to lose. And then now when I finally fail it, I'm like, I don't like this feeling.
Yeah.
And I don't want to lose feeling. I mean, even the point where still to this day, I mean, where's that? I still have my $100 in here.
Oh,
I
that's
keep it.
dope.
I keep it in here. Just a motivation saying I'm not gonna lose. Like, I don't want to lose. And same thing too. My kids, they know that dad doesn't lose. So like, for me to show struggle, I want them to see me struggle. I really do. I really want my boys to see me struggle. But then I want them to see me work my butt off to saying like, dad didn't quit.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what I want the most. But I started fatherhood being very, very young. I was teenager, and then through the blessings of God, I had a very good support system to be involved still and help me to continue playing sports and get my education. And but upbringing with the little one, that's like the hardest thing too, because you're gonna multitask your own life and another life that you were blessed to have. So other than that, from high school, I went to junior college. I went to 2-year university, and then I got hurt. Rehabilitated myself again, and to get to a good role model, I had to work out and end up playing pro ball for a couple of years. And then when I retired, because my little one was like, well, my oldest now, he was like, so what are we doing after this? I'm like, I'm not sure. Why? Because I need to know where the nearest hospital is, because you're always hurt. And so I was like, all right, I think it's time for me to just hang him up. You know? So I hung him up in 2009.
Where were you playing at?
Chargers back then.
Okay.
When we actually were San Diego.
San Diego.
Yeah. Then I played a little arena ball too as well. So if you ever seen arena ball, it's basically a hockey ring.
Yeah.
And that wall is very unforgiving, So got to play in Spokane, Washington, and tried out a couple of times. The places is, it just is not for everyone.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
not. And I'm very fortunate enough to get these opportunities, especially, being Hispanic and coming from a city like East Los Angeles. You just don't get those many opportunities. Either you go to school and you go to work. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Where my dad, bless that man, and even my grandfather were going like, you're playing sports. That's it. You're there's the number one rule in our household still to this day. You play sports, I'll take care of everything else. I need you to focus. And it's pretty much that's what my pops did. Stuff like that. And then I went to grad school, got to coach at the Division I level for a little bit, and then went to the NFL coaching there for a couple clubs, and then came back home, traveling around. And then eventually the point where I started coaching at junior colleges. I got to coach in the NFL again. And then my last position was at a high school, honestly. And everyone goes, you went from a big-time league to a high school? And I was like, hey, I left these organizations to be a dad.
Hey guys, this is Jordan with Good Dude, Good Dad. Quick break. I just want to thank our sponsors. The first one being Bio Pro. The link is down below. Use code GDGD. Ben and I have been on for about a month now, and it goes under your tongue in the morning. There's a night version to help you sleep a little bit better. But I tell you what, I get home, and for the first time in a while, I actually have some energy to hang out with my kids, to play, to get my workout in, and the best part of all, to hang out with my wife at the end of the night and not feel utterly exhausted. So go check out the link down below. Next, Hidden House Coffee. Go to hiddenhousecoffee.com, get a bag or 2 or 10, and use the code GDGD for a discount on that. I want to say thank you to Rode for all this amazing equipment and the sound quality. And last but not least, go check out gooddudegooddad.com. Get yourself some sweet merch. Sign up from our emails. And please like, share, and subscribe. It's all because of you guys that we are growing. We're excited to bring on more guests and serve you the best that we can. So remember, be a good dude, be a good dad. Get back to the show.
We have to be incredibly careful with our words. So our words have more power than what people realize. Our words can bring life, or they can bring death. And so we must filter. Like, people think, oh, I want to be unfiltered. Dude, you will do so much damage to your kids if you are unfiltered. I'm fairly filtered, meaning I'm really thoughtful with the words and the language that I use, because I know the consequences that it has on people.
Yeah.
Like, the words I say, what I say to somebody will impact their belief systems. And so I was having a conversation. We're reading this book, not Diary of a Wimpy Kid, not that one. There's a book by Jocko. Anyway, this kid in this book is my son's 12. I have a 9 and 12-year-old. And so I'm reading this book to my 9 and my 12-year-old. And this talks about this wimpy kid that's like figuring out, his uncle comes home. It's this Navy SEAL, or his uncle comes and stays with him. He's this Navy SEAL guy. And this Navy SEAL is like helping him not be a wimp, basically. And so I'm always I want to train my boys up to be strong, to be warriors, right? To be loving and thoughtful and warriors, though. And so I watched, my older son could be a little lazy sometimes. And so that night, like, they did a little push-up contest after the book, of course, after reading something like that. So they're doing push-ups. And then I watched my son just kind of like give up on something. And I'm like, oh, dude, you're being a wimp, man. Come on, push through. And then we went back to his room to go put him to bed. And then I noticed he was like a little emotional, or something was going on with him. I'm like, interesting. I didn't fully see it then, but I noticed something was off. And so I go lay in bed. I'm laying in bed with Jessica, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, shoot, I just called him a wimp. Like, my 12-year-old boy that's trying to be a man, right? That's trying to step into this. That's making me emotional. It's funny. I want him to, I did it for his good, but I just like literally called my little guy that wants to be strong, that's trying to be strong, right, a wimp. And so I'm like, dude, and so I'm laying there with Jessica. I think they've been in bed at like 30 minutes. The kids have been in bed, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, I gotta say something. And so I go walk out of bed. I go up to his room. My other son's asleep. I'm like, Brandon, you awake? And he's like, yeah. So I go lay next to him, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, hey, dude, just want to let you know what I meant by that. And I'm sorry for saying that you're a wimp. Yeah. And I did it because I wanted you to be strong, but that was an ineffective way of doing that, man. My bad. I just want to say, my bad. I apologize. And then we had a super, really impactful, deep, just intimate moment there in bed. It was really powerful, man. Probably the most, because he's a little bit of a harder kid to connect with. He closes his heart, and so it was just a really powerful moment. But that's the power of our words, and if we're not thoughtful with the things we say to our kids, it can do lifelong damage. I would say a good dude would be a combination of these two things. Number one is someone that truly loves other people. Right, there's a lot of people that have been tainted and hurt by people, and so their love for people has dissipated. So a good dude is someone that loves people, loves other human beings, like cares for other. And the second piece is a man that lives by integrity. So the reason so many people have been hurt is because of a lack of integrity and so the relationship that they have with their word. So promise is the thing that binds everything. God and our relationship, like as a Christian, everything's built on promise, right? It's this, the promises in the Bible. Everything is built on promise. It's all built on word. And so the relationship that we have with our word is one of the most important relationships we can have. And so meaning, do we value our word? Are we a man of our word? When we say we'll be there at 2:30, do we show up at 2:30? When we say we're going to do something for our kids, do we actually do it? Like, can the people around us count on us? Yeah. Can our wife count on us? If we say we're going to do the dishes or be home on time after the long day at work, do we show up or do we make an excuse? And so, again, we're not perfect at that, but a good dude is very intentional with his word and the things that he gives his word to. So integrity in that respect is the most important thing that a man should be focused on, and the way that he loves other human beings. So and what is love? Love is sacrifice. Love is willing to do something for somebody else versus seeking out your own pleasure. Hedonism is the pursuit of pleasure. Right. And so we have a lot of people that their own primary desire is to go find things that make them feel good. I want to build a business so I can get this, or I want to go have a nice car so I feel everything's around their pleasure. But man, a hedonistic person will do a tremendous amount of damage. That's what's happening with a lot of the younger generation, like even Andrew Tate kind of followers, right? It's focused on, hey man, you need to go create success, pursue, versus serve, give. Right, which is the mindset that's the opposite of hedonism is somebody that instead of pursuing their own things, they're out pursuing other people and serving other people. Yeah. So life becomes less about them and more about other people. And by the way, that's the best way to run a business is when you are caring more about your employees than you are even your own personal success. Yeah, because then if you can get your employees to care about the company more than their own, and the company's caring about their best interest, it builds a beautiful relationship. But you can tell when a CEO or an owner is they're in it for themselves. Yeah. And employees can sniff that. Yeah. Like people can sniff it when you're in it for yourself. And so I'd say love and integrity makes a good dude and a good dad. I'd say intentionality, the number one thing, like being intentional with each day, each moment. Like yesterday I had a super busy day with all kinds of stuff. And I took out time in the morning to go play football with my boys outside. Like found a way. I sacrificed part of my workout so I could make sure I was intentional with my boys. Yeah. So that intentionality, that word should be like freaking tattooed on every man's arm. Like, how do I be intentional with my kids today? Yeah. So guys, listen to this, right? What's one thing you can do intentional in an intentional way for your kids today? Like, how do you make tonight a very intentional night with your boys or your daughters? Like, what can you do? Is it doing dinner with them? Is it going and playing outside instead of drinking a beer on the couch? Yep. Like, what can you go do to be intentional today to make their night great? Like the best night they've had all week. How could you make it the best night that they've had all week?
And when somebody shares something, they're giving somebody else who's there and they're present, they give them permission. Because if I share something first, it's almost like through my vulnerability, which, by the way, vulnerability is the portal to true healing. Yeah. Right? Because if you don't get vulnerable, then you don't get better. And if I open up about something, then other people feel like they've been given permission, right, to open up. And a lot of us guys, we're avoidant. So we don't get vulnerable because of the avoidance. And we get gaslit by a society that tells us, right, that, it's okay for you to go to the bar. It's okay for you to watch porn. Like, get on OnlyFans, go do these things. And that's all, in my opinion, an intentional design to keep guys anesthetized and keep them brittle and keep them inhibited from living in alignment with the will of God, and therefore having and taking back, territory and authority in the name of Jesus. And so, where there is empathy, shame struggles to exist. Yeah. Like if I'm shameful about something and I open up about it and you're like, man, I've been there. Yeah. Like, hey man, like no judgment, brother. I've been there. John. Like shame and empathy are like oil and water. They can't exist at the same place at the same time. So it's like, I open up and you tell me like, hey man, it's okay. Like, and thank you for sharing that. And bro, and it's so funny because so many guys open up inside the Total Breakthrough Academy, and you would think like, wow, this guy's sharing the like ugliest parts of his life, like the darkest parts of his life. And it's always those times that another guy refers back to. And he's like, yeah, when I heard Tom share about this, that was the highlight of my night because he was telling my story. And, you know, we think there's nothing new under the sun. We think we're the only guy dealing with it, when in reality, every other guy is dealing with it. And that's part of the problem, that as men, like, we need to create a culture of supporting one another. And we have this fear. It's like, man, I'm afraid to get vulnerable because I don't want to be judged.
Yeah.
Which is just me projecting my shame. And it's like, man, how many times does that really happen when a guy gets vulnerable? I mean, we see guys get vulnerable. It's like, I respect that. Like, there's never been a time in my life where I've seen a guy get vulnerable and I've thought like, well, that was weird. Or you shouldn't have shared that. You know, like, these are all these beliefs that get instilled in us that ultimately why do guys commit suicide more than women? Right? Why do guys are struggling with vices and self-destruction? Why are so many guys, right, falling victim to divorce or unhealthy relationships or dynamics of any kind, or overcompensating through work and becoming addicted to work? It's like, well, ultimately because they carry everything on their own. And because they're carrying so much and they're suppressing so much. I always tell guys, you know, the opposite of depression, you know, what is the opposite of depression? Like, well, happiness? It's like, no, man, the opposite of depression is expression. You know, if you know, to push something down is to depress it. And we have to get to a place where we can express it with one another and realize, man, like, that's a sign of being healthy.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it takes more balls.
It takes way more balls to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Way more courage to be able to open up about that, and the trembling that comes with it and the fear that comes with it. And courage can't exist in the absence of fear. So you got to be afraid to be courageous, you know? And it's like, we're stepping forward and saying, hey, you know, I'll share.
Yeah.
I'll do it, because I know there's somebody right probably listening right now. And it's like you get permission from another brother when he shares his stuff. It is about, you know, in a way, redefining masculinity. And I think a lot of guys are confused about what it is to be a man. And I think if you look at Jesus, he was multidimensional. And that's what we should all strive to be, in my opinion, is a multidimensional man. Like, if somebody attacks me on the street with a machete, like, I should be capable of defending myself.
For sure.
Right?
Yes.
Like, it's why we do jits and Muay Thai, like,
Yeah.
obviously. But if your daughter skins her knee on her bike, you should be able to, you know, get on one knee and show compassion. If your mom is dying in the hospital, you should be able to hold her hand and cry. You know, it's like, you should be able to be assertive if someone crosses the line and set a boundary. It's like, it's about meeting the moment with whatever that moment most requires from you. And not just round peg through a square hole, or this one thing that I do in all these different areas. The power through mentality I use at work, I use in my marriage. It's like, and I use it with my kids. It's like, no, bro. That's, you know, being more comprehensive as a man. And I think a huge piece of that is, I would say, never trust a warrior who cannot cry. You know, and that's a cathartic thing that needs to take place in a guy's life on his journey to growth and evolution. Is, man, like, you got to have a couple ugly cries, bro. Like, you got a couple snotty at night, like, you know, you're in the rain with a lot of people think it's like, my healing journey is going to be like me running through the field and the sun's on me. It's like, no, bro, it's you, snotty cry out in the rain in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. Like, why, God? Right. It's one of those. It's like, you need those too. And I've always told guys that, you know, emotional intelligence doesn't make you emotional. It's like, it's the guys with the least emotional intelligence that are the most emotional.
Yeah.
Right? They're the most reactive. They're the most emotional. And I think it's so sad that we see so many guys nowadays where it's like, we live in the land of overcompensation, right? Where it's like, yeah, take a bunch of steroids, you know, throw a bunch of tattoos on your skin, you know, and grow a beard, and you're gonna be, you know, the alpha male. I hate that term, dude. I can't even stand that term, alpha. Like, I think that's the lamest thing ever, man. Just be a good dude.
Yeah.
Be solid. Do the right thing. Have integrity. You know, it's like having humility, man. Like recognizing and for me, that's been a huge journey of the bigger that Beyond Driven got, the bigger that the Academy got, you know, all of that, the smaller I became.
Yeah.
You know, because at some point in time, you're like, okay, am I doing this or God's doing this? God's doing this through me. And I think that humility piece is such a big deal, and just being comprehensive, man, and being a good dude, and treating people with respect, you know, treating people with kindness and respect, and carrying yourself as a gentleman, you know, carrying yourself well. And, you know, a lot of guys are trying to find themselves. It's like, well, if you can't find yourself, just create yourself, man. Create yourself, you know, start that building process of who do you want to be?
Yeah.
You know, how do you want to handle or carry yourself? How do you want to interact in these situations? And I think that, you know, for a lot of us, we have a misconstrued idea of what it is to be a man.
Yeah.
You know, and I know I did.
I
And,
as well did.
Yeah. And then you learn where you're like, okay, I can do all that stuff, but I can also be over here and over here and over here. That it's a 360 degree comprehensive thing. And I think when guys start to unlock that, I think they find a lot of freedom in that.
I remember, you know, drinking at a young age, starting to really, you know, dive into alcohol. Just because watching my family do it, you know, seeing my uncles and grandparents and dad and all them, you know, drinking. So I kind of went down that path and I liked it. You know what I mean? I remember drinking at 5 years old, having the first sip of beer. You know, the dad asks you, go get me another beer out of the fridge. You take his old one and you throw it away. Well, I was over here sipping the beer as I was throwing it away. So I didn't like the taste at first, but I liked the feeling. I remember feeling like, man, I feel different off of this stuff, you know? So that kind of turned into later on down the road when my parents split up. I used that as a coping mechanism. I used drinking as a way to kind of escape, and went downhill really, really fast. I remember, you know, drinking nonstop every weekend by the time I was 16 years old. Um, and it just became one of those things that I never stopped until I was about 30 years old. You know, been in and out of jail from it, making bad decisions with it. Me and my wife, we were on the verge of a divorce from my alcohol use, and my kids were watching it all. You know what I mean? They were seeing me go downhill with it. It just wasn't good. You know, it wasn't good. So I finally, you know, made a decision when I was about 29 years old. My wife left me. She got tired of it, and she's originally from Texas. So she went back to Texas. She took the kids. I remember coming home one day to an empty house, knowing exactly what happened, you know? And I knew she was giving me signs, right? She was telling me, man, you know, you need to stop. You know, we don't like you seeing you this way. You know, I was blacking out on the weekends, saying horrible stuff. You know, I never was abusive, but I guess my words, right? My words were hurting when I was drunk. So I wasn't myself. You know, that's one thing about me. When I drink, I'm not me. And so hearing that of, you know, the stories that were, you know, happening while I was drunk, intoxicated, you know, and hearing that when I was sober, I'm like, I couldn't believe that was me. You know, I was disgusted with the person that I was becoming through alcohol. And make a long story short, I dropped to my knees. You know, I dropped to my knees, and I just asked God, please take away this addiction, take away this, but whatever it is holding me captive from using alcohol to, you know, just escape my life. You know, I was overweight at the time. I was working in the HVAC industry, so working a lot of hours, always on call. I lost myself in providing for the family, right? Thinking I was doing my part. Yes, I was providing. Yes, I was going to work every day. But on the weekends and when I wasn't working, I was escaping because I just truly wasn't happy with myself, right? And it just really, it really opened my eyes when I hit the floor. I prayed to God and I told him, please, if you remove this from my life, I promise I will serve you the rest of my days here. You know, I was just in so much pain. And that weekend, I ended up reaching out to a coach. I knew I needed to change something. So I reached out to a coach and I'm like, man, you know, I'm addicted to alcohol. I'm overweight. I don't like who I am. When I look in the mirror, it's not this person that I used to be. I need help, you know? And that was like the first time that I admitted to somebody that, man, I just couldn't do it. You know, not only did I admit to God that I needed him and I couldn't do it on my own, I admitted to another man, which is hard for a lot of men to do. You know,
For
it's hard
sure.
for a man to
Yeah.
say, man, you know, I need help in this department. Yeah, man. I mean, like I said, I was thinking about it the wrong way, which a lot of men think, right? I'm gonna go to work, I'm gonna bust my butt there, but then when I get home, what am I giving to the people that matter the most, right? All my energy is going to work, all my energy, you know, I come home tired and then they get over the leftover pieces. Now I'm adding in alcohol, I'm adding in maybe some junk food to where it's not making me feel my best either. So, am I really giving them 100% or am I giving them like maybe 25%? You know, 75% is going to work and then coming home drinking, right? So, it made me realize that why do I feel like I deserve a drink after work? Right? If I'm a man and I'm supposed to provide for my family, what am I celebrating in the sense of, oh, I deserve this beer? Right. And I think that's where my mindset was at, was like, dude, I work long hours, I provide for my family. I can go home and have a few beers because I earned it. Now, there's nothing wrong with drinking. I'm not against drinking. There's many people out there that can go home, have a glass of wine, have a beer. Everything is fine. You know, I commend those people because I can't do that. Right. But if we think about it, what are we really? We can't say that we deserve the beer. We can't deserve it because we're just doing what we're supposed to do as men anyways. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?